John the Baptist was a foreganger to Jesus Christ, and he witnessed about him. This morning I'm going to ask our chaplain in CMA to come up and do his testimony and tell you what Christ have done in his life. So, Virgil, Castleberry, come on up. You're the winner. Amen. Here we go, brother.
Hi, my name's Virgil. Luckily for all you guys, I'm not up here to sing. I knew of Christ at a very early age. See, I grew up in Oregon in the early 60s prior to our government removing church from schools. Besides, after 62, Oregon didn't pay much mind to that anyway. Every day I was sent away where I was elected to go away, across the street to a little chapel for an hour a day. Anything to get me away from math and science and all that good stuff. I never knew my real father. He was taken away by the FBI when I was 18 months old. I refer to him as my sperm donor. So I never realized who he was. I never met him. I was raised by my stepfather. I had two older half-brothers, two younger half-brothers by him. I was in the middle. I even have a step-sister who is also a stepmother. So if you can imagine that, I guess it was a tight-knit family back there, a little too tight-knit for today. This man that raised me, he was rather abusive. A lot of people think abuse is being smacked around or yelled at. I'll give you a couple examples of how his abuse went. My older half-brother had a problem wetting the bed. A lot of kids have that problem. But a lot of kids didn't have that problem cured with a claw hammer on his toes. He would get this boy up out of bed, check the bed. If the bed was wet, he'd get out a hammer and take it to his little bare feet. When I was about 14 years old, I'd earned some money mowing lawns, pushing the lawnmower up and down the street. My mom was saving the money for me, but I thought I was old enough to manage my own money. I approached this man about it. He disagreed. He went into a rage. He grabbed me by the head of my hair, dragged me around the living room screaming at the top of his lungs until he held a bloody scalp in his hand. I hated this man. A lot of little boys have prayers. I was caught in my closet quite often praying, "Dear Jesus, please send the angel of death to remove this man from me and my family." It never happened. Pretty soon I changed that prayer to "Please remove me." I couldn't stand it any longer. This went on all the way through junior high, high school. All of us were abused physically, mentally. I was even sexually abused. Yes, it happens to little boys too. You don't have to be a little girl to be violated, to be raped. By the time I was 18, I hadn't graduated yet. I turned 18 in May. I was down at the recruiter's office. I could finally sign up myself. That was the happiest day of my life, to leave that environment, go off to boot camp. In boot camp, I learned how to shoot an M16, shoot pool, shoot craps, shoot everything that would fit in a needle. See, I was on a suicide binge. I had a drug tolerance level for the size of man I was, probably that would have killed any 3 men. You name the drug, I've done it. Everything from pot. I love pot. I even thought God made it, and he says everything he made was good. He didn't make heroin, but that was a drug of choice too. I learned how to sell drugs As a private, I was making more money than most majors. I was known as the Candy Man. But see, it was a suicide binge. It was a way to fill that deep hole in my heart. I had a black heart. I hated everybody. I figure everybody hated me. All this time, I had 2 younger brothers. They were his natural children. They were at home. Every day I had the same nightmare and the same prayer. Please don't let these 2 kids be going through what I went through. Every day I dreamed how I was going to kill this man. It took me 2 years, 3 months, and 19 days to finally get home. And I did have that intent in my mind. I thought of every way I could to put that man 6 feet under. My mother took me down to a local park. She says, son, please, please don't do what you came home to do. I didn't have to tell her. She knew. A boy cannot refuse, or a man cannot refuse his mother when he sees tears rolling down her face and she's begging and pleading me not to do this. She says, give him a chance, he's changed. The only change I wanted to see from upright position to horizontal position, and that deep. But I give in to my mom. I give her a chance. I give him a chance. Over the years, I did realize that something had changed in him. He wasn't the same monster that I wanted to kill any longer. It was hard living with him. It was hard practicing the one thing that I learned when I was a little child, learning about Christ. That was forgiveness. See, Christ forgave me of all my sins. I was to forgive him of his. Both my older brothers, they were firmly into the church. One was in a charismatic church. I went there one time, and as soon as I seen them flopping around on the ground and screaming and rolling around like they were having some kind of fit, I never went to that church again. There's a lot of different churches. I went to my brother's church with my first wife. When they asked for an altar call, it felt like the guy behind me stabbed me with a pin. I jumped up out of my seat. I went down front. I had a severe fear of public speaking, but I stood up there and I told him how I wanted Jesus into my heart. I was so happy that day. I went home and did about a 4-inch long line of meth. I stayed up for 3 days partying. I was so happy about my salvation. I went on doing drugs. I went on leading the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That was me and my first wife's lifestyle. It only lasted 13 years. We never went to church. We didn't even get married in a church. I don't know why it didn't work. Finally, divorce come. I was happy. A couple years later, I met my lovely wife, Deborah. Me and her both drank. We did drugs. We listened to rock and roll. We did that for many, many years. Finally, she come up to me one day and she says, I need a change. I want something's missing in our lives. I asked her, is my dope gone? Something's missing, that's the only thing I'm missing. She goes, no, I want to go to church. I just blew her off. Okay. A couple weeks later, honey, something's different, something's changed. I want to go to church. You can only blow off your wife so many times before you have to give in and say, okay, dear. So we heard about this little Calvary Chapel. It's down in Palm Desert. We went down there. All I saw was a Jewish synagogue. I go, I ain't going in there. That ain't no church. Finally, she says, we're going to go to church. So I went down there and the music had already started. I said, we're late. We're going to have... See, each time I went, I had an excuse why not to go through those doors. Finally, we got there early enough. We went through those doors. I finally found out what true Christians were. These loving. They wanted to hug. I've never hugged a guy in my life. You keep your distance. I don't want no funny stuff. But there was something about these people. They were different than every other hypocrite that I ever saw that went to church, claimed to have Christ, then flipped you off, cut you off in the parking lot. This church was something special. We went in, we felt welcome. I finally heard a pastor speak without these and thous and those and don't and all this stuff, and it finally made sense to me. My Bible didn't look like Latin anymore. He explained things. Wasn't too long after that we both recommitted our lives to Christ. He called an altar call. He opened his eyes. There was me and Deb, maybe 20 other people. I heard him say, "Oh my." He gave an altar call. Our lives were different. We both had an alcohol problem. I smoked cigarettes for 40 years, 3 packs a day. I had a drug addiction that went back 30 years. That night we got on our knees. We humbly asked with our hearts, "Lord, please take this addiction away from me." The following day and thereafter, we never smoked, we never drank, we never did drugs. No nicotine patches, no Betty Ford Center, nothing. Just a humble heart and a true heart, asking the Lord and Savior, if you're up there, you can do something special for me, do it. Later on, we accepted a baptism in a pool. We walked into the pool together. We came back out together. The church people said, "Your smile didn't leave your face for 3 weeks." Yeah. The sky was brighter. I recognized it was daylight outside, which I didn't like seeing before. The birds were chirping. Everything was beautiful. Our lives haven't been the same since. I encourage anybody with a problem that the world will let you down each and every time you rely on it. People will let you down. People that say they love you, the love soon falters and they'll let you down. I'm not up here to sell religion. You're welcome. But listen to this. There are many religions. They'll all tell you what to do. Only through Christianity will empower you to do it. And I just ask you to try it. You might like it. So with that, I'd like to say thank you for your time. Anybody that wants to ask anything later on, you can catch me. I'm free. I love to talk about God. I used to chase people away. Now I encourage them to run towards Him. Thank you. I forgot to tell you guys, I told you a very sad story. I forgot to tell you the happy ending. My monster did die in '97. At that time, he was my best friend. The little boy with the smashed toes, he's now a pastor. My next older brother went through similar things I did. He retired from Orange County Probation Department. He's touched thousands of lives. As you see, standing before you, I'm still a work in progress. Thank you.